Hey everybody, Sean Sewell with Engearment Podcast. Really excited to have back my friend Aleks, the Hebrew Hammer Salkin. Aleks, welcome back, my man. How are you?
Well, thank you for having me back. I'm doing very well. How are you doing?
Fantastic. We're having a fun, lively chat about online training just before recording here. And it's new to me, but Aleks has been doing this off and on since 2013. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we're going to have a lot to talk about today, but I think one of the easiest things for us to talk about is the elephant in the room and how to address it if you're a fitness professional. Like we were talking about microphones, best ways to serve. Aleks has got a whole program and planning in place. He's been doing it for a very long time. I'm super new to this, but I'm not new to making video content and audio. So between the two of us, I'm hoping we can give some actionable tools that people can like immediately do, like probably during the podcast, what to order, how to do it, get some ideas, get a pen and paper, and get back to work,
Absolutely.
So, yeah, well, cool. So let's talk a little bit about, you're very well, you have a deep platform. You write articles that are fantastic. You have great YouTube videos. You have great Instagram videos. You have an email list. What do you think a person should start, and what have you found beneficial?
Well, I would say first and foremost, if you focus on becoming the best possible trainer that you can, the most knowledgeable problem solver that you can be, all the other things are going to fall in place. My friend and yours, Pat Flynn, has said in the past that if you get really good at marketing, but you're really bad at what you do, people are just going to find out that you suck a lot faster. And it's true because, I think one of the issues is that people have this idea that, and again, like we always rail against people in the fitness industry about, chasing after these magic pills. Yeah. And then people are like, well, what's a way that I could use Facebook to like get 30 new leads a week and, stuff like that. And so like anything technological that I do is the reason that I do it well is because like I know what I'm talking about and I stay in my lane. Like there are certain things I just don't know much about. And I mean, when people ask me, I just refer them to others, So I would be remiss if I didn't first mention that. But the next thing that I would mention would be that if you want to train people online, you have to know who you're trying to train or who you're best suited to train. Mm-hmm. I've been fortunate in that, when I lived in Israel for 4.5 years, and I wasn't really expecting this, but I got very lucky. I got in with Original Strength very early. And so I got a great education from the founders directly, like from the get-go. Like, for example, I went to the second ever Original Strength workshop when it was still called Becoming Bulletproof. And this was back in like November of 2012, right? Mm-hmm. And I read Tim Anderson's book, Tim Anderson and Mike McNiff's book, Becoming Bulletproof, in 2011. So, all of these concepts were kind of swirling in my head. The reason I mention this is because these were things, the reason I started being very interested in this stuff was that my mom was not able to use kettlebells because she had a litany of injuries from gymnastics and then, a variety of other things that had cropped up since then, like issues with her hip and with her knee. And up to that point, all I knew was kettlebells, and then I had gotten into calisthenics at about midway through 2011 too, but it's like, I'm not going to have her do any clutch flags. She's not going to be doing one-arm push-ups. It wasn't something that allowed me to meet her where she was. So it set me off on a quest to try to figure out what I could do to help her. Now, fast forward to me moving to Israel, and I originally planned to move to Tel Aviv because, if you're like an American immigrant, that's where you go. It's like Tel Aviv is the place to go. Or if you're very religious, you go to Jerusalem. And I'm a believer for sure, but I was not planning to move to Jerusalem. But as it turned out, a colleague that I made in the weirdest possible way, she convinced me to move to Jerusalem. And the way was basically this. Somebody that I knew from Facebook only, who I actually met him earlier this year in Arizona, a guy named Matt Peltz. He reached out to me about another one of his students who used to he used to train, who then lived in Israel in 2013, but lived in the Dead Sea area and I was living in Haifa, and that's probably like a 3-hour drive, I would say. Well, maybe. I don't exactly know, but it's quite far away. So at any rate, this woman that Matt knew also knew this other woman named Dara, who was a physical therapist. And so Dara came up to Haifa, did a kettlebell lesson with her, and we kept in touch, and she convinced me to move to Jerusalem and said she would help. She would send her former patients to me so that I could train them. And so I was able to get this kind of niche that very few other people really have. And I mean, there are other very good trainers who use original strength. So I'm not saying that, but what I'm saying is, for what I do in particular, I spent about 4 years working with people that other personal trainers kind of couldn't really work with safely, we'll say. Mm-hmm. And so she and another physical therapist, a guy named Dr. Stephen Hodes, would send me a lot of people because they knew that I could work with them where they were, and I was not going to push them into the deep end. And unfortunately, for a lot of people, when they jump into personal training or strength training in general, they end up in the deep end unbeknownst to them. Even if it's at the beginner level, it's beyond where they should be. So mm-hmm. all of this is to say, I've built up a certain set of skills dealing with a certain group of people that have helped me to help a lot of other people. And in particular with kettlebells, body weight, and original strength or movement training in general. And everybody else who's a trainer more than likely has some sort of a niche. Now, if you're very new, maybe not, but otherwise you've got some sort of a niche, like a group of people that how to help better than most other trainers. Like if a snowboarder or a skier were to come to me and say, "Hey, Alex, and I'm trying to train for X, Y, and Z," I'd be like, "You need to talk to Sean Sewell. He does online coaching now." So he'd be the guy, because I wouldn't really know what to do to, like, I could train them generally. Like, here's what you need to do generally. But if you want to aim that general training in a particular direction, you need to see somebody who'd be better at that. And so, for example, I would send somebody like that to you. And so people need to first have clarity on, you have to be good. If you're like, you just got your online certification, and now you're like, I'm looking for 5 people who are looking to lose 20 pounds. Like, you see this all over Facebook. Oh yeah. And good for them. I'm not saying don't do that, but but it's become very ubiquitous. But you have to be very clear on who you can help and who you really can't help. I have a wide enough set of skills now that there's quite a big number of people that I can help for the most part. But there are a lot of people that I can't help, and I just tell them that outright. That's so good. If in your opinion, if the people that you're looking for is just anybody, you're going to do a very bad job. You need to figure out who you can help the best, either from your previous experience. It could be people looking to lose fat. In my case, it could be people looking to get stronger and move better. Mm-hmm. It could be people who are looking to run a marathon and they want to do it without hurting themselves. Like whoever you've worked with, this is kind of the thing you've got to talk most about. And the other thing that's very important is you have to be interested as well. Mm-hmm. Meaning, if you don't really care about that and you just, my guess is you'd find it interesting enough if you've trained people like that. But that's the thing that people need to think about first before they, rush out and start an email list. Or get, like a professional Facebook page. There's very little investment that you have to do other than time, for that. But yeah, write about what you know and stay in your lane for sure.
That's really good advice. Yeah. Like, pick your avatars, right? Like, who do you most want to help? Who can you help the best? Not everybody, right? And then probably like you, I always interview people and make sure it's as good for them as it is for me. Mm-hmm. So we're not wasting each other's time, and then refer out. Like, again, I would refer people to you for certain things. I was talking to Dave Whitley, like, I can't rip cards in half, but he can teach you how to do that.
He taught me. I mean, right. I bought his course and I can rip a deck of cards in half now.
That's so awesome. He actually did it on the podcast. He ripped it in half. I was like, that's incredible.
He makes it look easy. Like, I'm clearly struggling with it, but I can do it.
It's amazing because in our in our business, in our realm, there are people who specialize. We may share skill sets, but they definitely specialize in things. And it's so cool to be able to recognize that and appreciate it and refer. So yeah, that's very good advice. So a person first starting in the fitness business, figure out why you're doing it, who you're doing it for. Don't just go out there and be like you said, everybody, here's a
Yeah,
sale.
exactly.
Oh,
And I
too
think
much good.
people, the other thing too, is I think that people kind of see that and they like subconsciously, even if they don't know how to verbalize it, I think they're thinking that it looks a little desperate or suspicious.
Yeah.
And even if you're not, I mean, you could be reeking of desperation. Like, again, people tend to be able to sense it, even if they can't verbalize it. And suspicious, it's kind of like, well, like, what do you know about this topic? Like, all sorts of people have all sorts of opinions. People are very confused when it comes to fitness, and I don't blame them. But yeah, having an avatar is important. The other thing I would also add to that is that if there is a certain group of people that you find are coming to you specifically, it might make sense to reach out to them specifically. So for example, something probably like 75% of the people who buy my programs, do my challenges and stuff like that are men. So, and I'm not reaching out to them specifically, but for whatever reason, it's not like a 50-50, right? I have some very strong ladies who do like challenges and, do online coaching with me and stuff like that. In fact, actually, I would say recently I did a lot more consultations than normal. And I think probably closer to a third of them were women. So it's like, like you never quite know who it's going to be best for. Like some people might gravitate toward certain things. Others might gravitate toward others. So as you get going and you have an idea of what you want to do, you're clear on what it is that you offer and how you can help people and whom you can help. If there's a certain like subgroup of people, let's say men in their 50s or, women in their 40s who seem to be gravitating toward you specifically, reach out to them in particular. Because you may find that what you're offering appeals to a larger group of people that you wouldn't have considered otherwise.
That's a good point. When I first started out 11, 12, 13 years ago, I definitely had a different picture in my mind of who I was going to help. But the people I wound up helping, I really enjoyed it. It was people of our parents' age, give or take, that were really very new to fitness, and they were very nervous about going into a gym setting. So for me, being like the easy, goofy guy to talk to was appealing to them more than doing crazy, like, pistol squats and stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah. So know your audience, right?
Exactly. And, well, here's the other thing too, is like, if you look at my Instagram, for example, is not a good representation of what I normally do with my students because, in a lot of ways, it's just kind of like a place to show off to a certain degree. Like, and I got started doing that actually because a few years ago I was dating a gal who was like very insistent. Like, she's like, I want to see another video on Instagram. So I was like, okay. So, I had to like come up with like goofy stuff. Yeah. And I just kind of continued to do that. And so, the stuff that you would see on my Instagram is a little bit less what I would have most people do in their training and a little bit more just kind of for flash and for fun and that sort of thing.
Thank you for being honest about that. I think that's very important for most people to know. And I'm with you on that too. I generally don't take most of my clients into a blizzard at 13,000 feet to swing kettlebells, right?
Right.
But I do that myself because it's fun and it looks kind of cool. But you're right. And I hope that people get that takeaway. Like, most of what goes on behind the scenes for coaching, successful coaching, is fundamentals and just really just basics, movement patterns, accountability, structure, that kind of stuff. Not crazy stuff. But although you are very capable of doing the really impressive stuff, and so I'm glad you do share that with the world. It's very entertaining and inspiring. When I see your stuff, I'm like, I really got to step it up today. All right.
That's good. You know what? If all it does is get people to say, you know what, I was thinking about skipping my workout. Yeah. And I saw Aleks do a triple Lindy, or whatever it may be. Yeah. Then I've succeeded and the Instagram has done its job.
Oh, exactly. I see your stuff or I see Karen Smith or, Brett Jones or somebody. I'm like, all right, I'm going to go for the 28 snatch instead of the 24 today. I'm going to step it up because my colleagues, my people, my mentors are doing this. So yeah, it's
Exactly.
motivational for at least for me and people like us, I'm sure.
Heck yeah, man. Absolutely.
It's good stuff. Well, okay. So right now, obviously, as we're recording this, we're in week 8. What week are you in for stay at home in Omaha?
I have no idea, dude. Like,
What month is
time is
this?
an illusion. I don't know
Yeah.
why we even bothered with it to begin with. Like, to me, this just, I actually have to be honest. So because I'm in Omaha, Nebraska, we didn't have like a straight up lockdown. We had like kind of some restrictions. Like, you know, I went with my mom to Barnes and Noble, maybe not last weekend, maybe the weekend before. And they were like, yeah, we're one of only 10 that is open in the entire country. And so Nebraska's current thing, it's like, you know, restaurants are closed. It's like takeout only, you know, other things like that. And the studio that I train out of, I signed up for like a 3-month program through the gym. And it was kind of like, we were on edge for a while because we were thinking, well, maybe they're going to give the order that everything has to close down. And no, but the gym stayed open. It's not a big, huge box gym. But the rule was that you could only have like 10 people per room.
Yep.
So as it turned out, everybody is, I say this half jokingly, everyone's a chicken, and they decided they were going to stop working out. So I was really socially distancing by default because nobody else was going to the gym. So it was like, you know, me and like paltry few other people.
Yeah.
So actually for me, not all that much really changed. Like I didn't realize that my day-to-day lifestyle was called quarantine because it's like I work out of my, I work out of my place. You know, I would go work out in the morning doing this program. And, you know, I go to the grocery store, like and I get to sleep at a reasonable hour, wake up early. So yeah, everything has basically been the same. It's just everything around us is going nuts.
That's well put. And I grew up in Omaha too, so I know the culture there. I love Omaha. It's a really great, just down to earth city. But here in Denver, middle of March, I think probably March, let's call it 13th. That whatever that Monday was, the law firm I have a gym in closed, my gym I train out of closed, and then of course I'm not training anybody in person. So my main 3 things I do shut down in 1 hour, and I was like, whoa, all right, gotta get curious about this. What do we do? You know, so like I know a lot of people took that as like a downtrodden event. Okay, what was to me? Like I was trying to think, what about all these people that I provide services for? How do I serve them? And like, how do I keep their heads up? You know, like most of them have, when I first start working with them, I say, go get a TRX and get a kettlebell too. Just get them at home. You won't regret it. Well, they're all doing great because now we've pivoted to online training and nobody's missing a beat. I mean, I'm personally loving doing the online virtual training now. It has been so rewarding. And I think it's extra personal now too. Like I get to be in their home or their backyard. I get to see their wife, their kids, their dogs, their cat, whatever. It's like extra personal training, right?
Yeah.
And then they get to see my wife and my dogs and get to, it's just fun. And it's also a lot of people I work with are a bit agoraphobic or have a background of anxiety, depression, stuff like that I can relate to deeply. So for us, getting out of like the loud music in a gym or the bigger social structure has actually been very beneficial. So like you said, my lifestyle when I'm not training is writing reviews and working with companies like Patagonia and stuff. And so I already work from home and I love it. So I've actually kind of thrived this last 8 weeks of stay at home. So yeah, I'm glad to hear from you too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's kind of fun actually. It is kind of fun too is given the background of making, I don't say high quality videos, but videos, I put a lot of effort into making a good quality video, good quality audio. So compared to what I see out there, what's being offered, it, I don't want to say it's better, but it seems to get the message across a little more clearly.
Are you talking about what you offer?
Yeah.
No, man, gas it up. Don't say it's not better. Like, I think
appreciate
actually,
that,
I'm just astonished actually, even just looking at you. It's like, it's so clear. It's like you're right in the room. I'm like very impressed. What is it? What kind of camera is that called? It's like 4K or whatever.
Yeah, it's in 4K. I have it down to 1080 actually. So let's walk through how anybody can do this right now. You can go on eBay and purchase this equipment and how you can offer clear service for your students, right?
Yeah.
Nobody's going to, I learned the hard way on YouTube. Nobody's going to stick around if the video has horrible audio. It can be the most beautiful scenery, but the audio is horrible. They will just bounce, right? So audio is important. Obviously right now we're using, this is an XLR microphone going into a Scarlett 2x1. This is like $100. I think it's the same one Pat Flynn uses. I think he's his USB version. going
Could be.
into, yeah. And then the Scarlett you can get off of Amazon for $120. There's that. If you're shooting content on your phone, which most of the trainers are probably doing, I'd recommend getting these guys, these little Rode microphones. They're wireless. So what you do, and it's night and day audio, is you have a little lavalier right here, it's built in, and then it shoots it over to this guy on top of your camera. It can be a Osmo action camera, it can be a GoPro, it can be your cell phone, it can be what you see right now, which is a very entry-level camera. It's a Panasonic G7. The reason it looks like this is because it's a prime lens on it. Leica 15 millimeter f, I think 1.7, 1.8. So it gets that bokeh. So like it's kind of buttery in the background. Like if you have an iPhone and you take the portrait mode, that's that kind of thing. And so I'll just show you guys what it looks like. It's kind of fun, kind of nerdy stuff here. So where is it? There's the mirror. Come on, right about. Oh, come on. Where is it? There it is. Cool. So you can see there's the camera, there's the microphone, and then I have a thing going into it. It is called a capture card. Capture card, this guy right here, and it takes the signal from the camera and puts it into a USB cord into the computer. And then you can record a really, really high quality video. Like as Alex was saying, it's a very big difference. So
I have to say, like, I feel like I'm James Bond and you're Q, and you're like, here's what you're going to be using, Bond. And
bring it back in one piece.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Bring it back in one piece, 007.
Yeah. So nerdy stuff, but it does help, with the students' ability to view stuff and hear it. And it goes a long ways, Yeah,
and that's good to hear, actually, because, I remember a couple of years ago, I put out a 7-day course called Bodyweight Mastery, and the audio was god awful. Like that was the one, because I filmed it outside. I had a friend of mine who was helping me to like do the moves while I explained things, and it was like windy, and it was just terrible. And then he helped me do something else later, and it was in his gym, and it was really echoey. So I agree. I mean, on the one hand, I think when people like to do. I have noticed that people like to start. It's one thing to start with the end in mind. It's a different thing to try to start at the end. So one of the reasons why when you asked the question earlier, I said start off by being a good coach and being very clear on what you offer, because after that the other things are going to be much more valuable. So a lot of times it's kind of like in fitness, people are like, what supplements should I take? Like, what do you think about, like, should I eat 6 times a day? And it's like, maybe you should stop smoking first. And maybe, you should 3 of your meals per day shouldn't be from a drive-through, like those are really fundamental things that you should consider first. So a lot of the equipment stuff, like provided, like the audio doesn't have to be like movie theater quality.
No,
but it does have to be non-crappy.
Yeah. Non-crappy is a good word. Non-crappy.
Yeah. Like you go from like crap to suck to good to like exceptional, like exceptional if you're going out and you spend like $1,000 right out of the gate and you don't have a lot of income coming in because we're on lockdown at present or what have you. It may not be the wisest thing. It might be smarter to just find a room in your house or your apartment where you can film things for people and get your point across without it becoming without it becoming a real problem.
Yeah, Alex, that's fantastic. And it's practically free. And I mean, you have good audio. Pat's got great audio. I think lighting, natural lighting like we have right now is the best light out there, right? I do have LED lights and stuff like that, but use what you have, right? The sun looks fantastic, right? Audio, the microphone on the iPhone or other phones is adequate if the room is not echoey and boomy, right? So like you said, find a room that's not echoey and noisy, or the HVAC. If you've got hopefully you have an HVAC, turn off for a moment so it's not in the background humming, right?
Right. That's
all free stuff, and you'll be light years ahead of most other people's content.
Absolutely. I will say this. I do recommend, if you're going to get a microphone, I bought one last year because I was going through Bodyweight Mastery and I was doing more new videos. I revamped everything. And so I got this wireless microphone. No, I'm sorry. It was not wireless. It had a wire on it.
Oh, so,
yeah, I don't remember exactly if that was the brand or not, but at any rate, there was a buzzing sound in every single video, as though somebody had taken a what do you call them? A fluorescent light bulb and put it right next to the microphone. the material was still very good, but I have to redo it all, because it's like, and nobody complained about it, but it annoyed the heck out of me. So yeah, if you're going to get something, definitely get something that doesn't buzz. Spring for something a little more expensive than this.
Yeah. And you're right. Bad audio is so bad. The first year I had a YouTube channel, we would go up in the mountains. Very fortunate to work with like North Face and Patagonia, and all these companies would send us stuff. We'd go out there and we authentically go out in blizzards and camp, and wind would come in, and the videos looked great, but the audio was just horrible. And I got flamed. I got really, really, really mean comments daily for like a year before I finally was like, oh, maybe there's something to this audio thing.
Yeah.
So yeah. Audio.
Learn from our mistakes. That's the moral of the story.
Yeah, because we're gonna make mistakes, and it's definitely good to learn from them.
Exactly.
Wow. So back to the Omaha. So it does not really. So for example, in Denver, you have to wear a face mask. You can't have more than 10 people anywhere. People are adhering to it very well here. It's interesting too because I'm in Denver, and currently the mayor's asking not to have anybody leave more than 10 miles from your house. Now, I'm a mountain man. I love the mountains. I'm in the mountains 3 or 4 days a week. I help run a very big Facebook group. I think we have 8,500 people in it right now for backcountry skiing and snowboarding. But talking to nurses and doctors in the area, the recommendation was, please don't be selfish. Please do not recreate in the mountains. Please do not come into other communities hopefully not get hurt and have to go to the hospital and put their search and rescue people at risk and all these things. And so it's been weird having my split board hanging out, for like 2 months now.
Yeah.
But little things like that, we're just trying to do the right thing. But so in Omaha, you're able to go like out right now?
Well, kind of. I mean, it's not like everything's open. Like a lot of things are closed for sure. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't know if you noticed, my hair is like a mop because.
Oh yeah, dude. I got the wife haircut going on.
Yours looks decent. I haven't touched mine. Like, so much of like how presentable I look is like ties directly into my hair. And so I'm just worried about trying to cut it myself for fear that I'll make it infinitely worse, It'll
grow back.
Like there was an Instagram video I saw of like a gal, she was trying to wax her eyebrows, and then I think she got a little too much on there, so she starts to pull, and then she notices that the whole thing is coming up. She doesn't do the whole thing, but now she's stuck. Well, I don't want to be in that situation with my hair, having to try to like cut it. So I'm hoping to be able to get it cut soon. I think the last time that I had it cut was in like February before I went to Australia. And I mean, we're already in May, and I'm just like, wow, I got to do something about this.
Yeah.
So things are closed down. But it's not like, for example, like things like salons have been closed, restaurants. If you can go in, you cannot eat in. You can go in and order and take it to go. Otherwise it's, you call in, place your order, and then you get it curbside or whatever. So a lot of things are closed down. There's really not a whole lot to do, but there are certain things that I guess are open either provisionally or what have you. So it's not to the same degree as other parts of the country.
Gotcha. Yeah, this whole thing is fascinating because I've gotten a chance to talk with people in different states. Matthew Flaherty, our StrongFirst friend.
Of course.
Yep, awesome guy. Jeff Sokol, our StrongFirst friend.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, we got from coast to coast, right? All in 2 days. So I talked to Matt, and he was hanging out in his in-laws' home, and he's been there since beginning of March,
Now, is he in New York though?
Yeah, New York. Yep.
No, I know that's where he lives, but is that where his in-laws are from too?
They are in the New York area. I'm not too sure.
Okay.
New York City or like Long Island or what have you.
Okay, that would make more sense because I feel like I've seen some videos and it looks like he's in a house. And if you were in like Staten Island or something like that, or Long Island or whatever, then I could see that. Otherwise, like Manhattan, no way. Like
no way.
Nobody has a house.
Yeah, he's not in the middle of the city anymore, for sure. And Jeff was fun to talk with. He's such a nice guy. I had no idea he was so down to earth. Pleasure talking with him about how he is handling it with his gym out there. It's been interesting, picking everybody's brains. And of course, our friend Pat Flynn, he's all online. And
he's been doing it longer than almost anybody.
Yeah. I mean, I've paid for courses on how he does it and learned from him and benefited. He's fantastic. When I was talking with Dan John about a month ago, he was saying he had the busiest or most prosperous month yet, which makes sense. I mean, there's a lot of content out. People want to know how to train at home. So yeah, there is a lot of opportunity in this time, and it kind of frustrates me, and I shouldn't get off my high horse here in a second, but when I see people complain about like they're entitled and they should have these things taken care of for them, I'm like, also these are opportunities for you to adjust and like and serve. But
it's interesting. I'm not super familiar with Myers-Briggs, personality typing or whatever. And I'm sure that you're going to get some email, somebody telling you that it's pseudoscience, whatever. But there's an email marketer that I follow very closely who has talked about. Sorry, there's a spider crawling on my wall over there, and I'm like,
get your pet squirrel to eat it.
Well, I mean, I don't have to burn this place down like in the middle of an interview. That would not be fun.
No.
So one of the things he talked about is that there are certain personality types where they're very good at seeing like what they need to do in the future. Like, right, they can live in the future and plan for it. And then there are other personality types who are like here and now only, and they just don't have like any capacity for thinking about how something will benefit them in the future. I would be willing to bet that people who are seeing it as something where it's like a burden as opposed to, I mean, it is a burden, but seeing it as like not having the seeds of any sort of growth for them are probably the people who live more in the here and now, and they just have a very difficult time, like looking at how things can be in the future. And both have their advantages, both have their disadvantages. But to me, I don't really know what I would be in that Myers-Briggs, whatever. But I definitely look at, what to do in the future for the purpose of like planning and getting better and what have you, because, to me, it's just logical, but it could very well be that's just how I think in general.
Yeah, no, I've taken that test before too. I think it's relevant. I love taking tests and figuring things out about personality and how you operate. But you're right. And I try and feel empathetic and curious about how other people are just like stuck. And like, I have a lot of friends like that, and I reach out to them, and they're like, how do you even get out of bed and do anything? I'm like, well, get off of social media, stop watching the news so much, and then little things like make your bed, walk your dog, like make a good cup of coffee, little victories, right?
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
That confidence.
The daily routine is, here's the thing, like to some degree, it's been upended for a lot of people where it's like, their routine kind of, I think, revolves around what they have to do in order to get by at their job, right? Like you got to be there by 8. So that means that I have to do X, Y, and Z. So they are in a difficult predicament because it's like all of a sudden they have to habits take a long time to build. So you find yourself needing to completely do everything differently than what you did before. Yeah, for sure. But I definitely think social media can be very toxic. Yeah. It can be used appropriately. Like in our field, I think it can be used very well for connecting to the right people. I don't think it's the end all be all. And I definitely don't think it's like, I never use it for sales, just as an example. Like social media, I just don't see the point. But it's a very good way to connect with a lot of people, and that can be used very, very effectively.
I agree with that 100%. Like I love your goofy stuff. Like today, you're working on having a pet squirrel. Is that right?
Yeah, it's coming along nicely.
Yeah, it looks like it.
Yeah, I just need to lure him into my place so that I can actually have the benefits of having a squirrel, like do videos, be like, oh, that's my, pet squirrel, Greg, in the back, or just give him like a really like normal name,
Oh.
Yeah, since I moved into this new place, I've been leaving like almonds and cashews and stuff like that on my porch. And I remember putting them out there for the first time. And it was like, I would walk out there and, it was all still there. It was like a week later, like it hadn't been touched. And eventually some squirrel came and saw like, oh my gosh, there's food here. So I would routinely put it out there. And then, just the other day, started getting bold. And he came up and there was one like came up to the screen door waiting for me to bring food out there. So that was the video. Like, I decided I got to get this on camera.
Yeah, that's awesome. Oh, squirrels. I think I've noticed a little bit more wildlife last 8 weeks. Like they're more, less people are out too. Like I did leave the house today, went to the store, did all the right things. but my gosh, it was like almost a ghost town. And Denver's a very, very, well, now especially very dense, very busy
Yeah.
city. Yeah.
Denver.
What's that?
Denver.
Denver. Good wordplay. I like that.
Yeah, yeah.
Denver.
Yeah, no, that's true. I mean, Denver is like a proper big city. Omaha is like a small city, kind of.
Yeah.
So it is weird that it's kind of a ghost town here too. But on the other hand, it's also like, apart from certain areas that are normally busy, like it's weird to see the old market not buzzing all the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, Denver, that would be especially strange.
Yeah, I mean, traffic here, everybody complains about it. It is really bad traffic. I mean, it's only going to probably get worse. So yeah, having no commute time it was crazy. It blows my mind.
It's genius.
Yeah, I'm grateful as heck for it. It's awesome. And then gasoline is super cheap, but not driving anywhere. So
right, exactly. That's exactly it. Yeah. It's like it reminds me of a joke. I think it was in Foxtrot. It was that comic strip.
Mm-hmm.
The oldest son is like, "Hey, Dad, do you want me to help you clean out the garage?" No, he was like, "Hey, do you want me to rake the leaves?" He's like, "No." He's like, "Do you want me to mow the lawn?" "No." Do you want me to, some other yard related task? And he's like, "All right, well, don't say that I never offered." And then like you see out the window, there's like snow all over the place. So that's where the situation we're in with the gas being so cheap. So yeah, it's really cheap, but what difference does it make? Like nobody's going anywhere.
Right. Well, it's so amazing. It made me realize how much I spend on gas each month too. Like I would probably go through sounds really bad, 2 tanks of gas a week because I'm going up to the mountains. That's 100 miles each way. And it's so my Forerunner, I love that thing. It's a lease, and I'm like 20,000 miles over the mileage already.
Yeah, but isn't everybody? That's the thing, is like you lease a car and like they give you such low mileage that they expect you to drive, or that that's approved on the lease.
Well, I haven't had an issue with that. In fact, I like leasing because one, the truck is always fully operational. It's got warranty. I also got a really good guy at my dealership, and he's a big fan of Engearment. So he's a mountain biker. So he's always like giving me a really good hookup. And I was like thousands and thousands and thousands of miles over in the last lease. He's like, don't worry about it. It's all good. I'm like, I got scratches all over this thing and all these things. Like, it's all good. Don't worry about it.
Nice.
Yeah. Really,
I need to hook up like that. I've got a car that whenever it has mechanical issues, they're expensive. It's not anything that's like, it's we'll put it this way. It's a German car.
So, yes. I've had BMWs and A4s or Audis there.
Yeah. It's an A6. So,
nice.
Yeah. So it's got, I mean, it runs great. For example, I remember driving back to driving back to Nebraska from Pennsylvania. Like I did it in first day was like 9 hours. Second day was like 11 hours. And it just only stopped for gas. And that was it. And it just ran the whole time like a tank, So it very reliable in that regard. But again, when there's like a slight electrical issue, it's like, you need like a degree to figure out what it is. So.
It's true. I really enjoyed. I had 2 different A4s. One was a turbo, and it was slammed. I had it chipped. It was built like a tank too. Like it would handle blizzards. The Quattro was legit. It's a stick. But yeah, when something would go wrong, you're like, all right,
you're SOL, man.
Yeah, get a second mortgage here.
Correct. Oh yeah. God, yeah. It's that's exactly like that. So anyway.
Good German engineering though. I like a tank.
Certainly, yeah.
Oh, how fun. Well, so what are you working on currently? I know you always have something you're working on. Your content, like you said, is just vast and deep and very, very well made. What are you cooking up right now?
Well, I've got a couple of things cooking up. I'm very excited because I'm working with a friend and colleague of mine in England on a program that is we think is going to be pretty revolutionary, because as far as we know, it may well be the first time that anybody's put together a program like this. It is based on the conjugate system of periodization. Now, conjugate, he says conjugate. I'm used to saying conjugate. I don't know, it's an English accent versus American accent, I think. But so I'll say conjugate. But conjugate training is what has made West Side Barbell famous. So Louis Simmons is really the one who pioneered it. The idea behind it is that there are really 3 major ways to get stronger. One is to lift a heavier weight. One is to lift a given weight faster. And then the other is to build muscle in a hypertrophy method, right? So Conjugate puts together all three of these in one program, whereas typically you would have a program that would focus on like one thing at a time. And that's not to say that those programs are bad, because they work very well. Conjugate just works like extremely well. And that's one of the things that's made Westside so, so renowned, is they're very innovative training approach. And so just as an example, you would have like a max effort day, let's say in, like military press, right? And then you'd also have like a dynamic day where you're doing lighter presses, but you're working on doing very fast, right?
Yep.
And, but on each of those days, whether it's the max effort day or the dynamic day, when you're finished, you do some assistance work that is more in the hypertrophy rep ranges. So like 8 to 12 reps, things like that.
Yeah.
And it's centered around kettlebell and body weight training, as opposed to barbells, because that's typically the approach: barbells, dumbbells, and things like that. And I've seen the results that he's gotten, and it's been incredible. He's a big barbell guy, but he also really loves kettlebells. And we talk like I talk with this guy probably more than anybody else. This guy named Adam Armstrong, he and I have like great conversations on strength training. I've learned a lot from him, in no small part. Also, him kind of calling out the BS that you see in that I would say that passes even in like the more respectable circles. He very sharp eye for training, very sharp eye for good programming, and he's a guy who's really lived it, because he has been in positions where he's trained hard, plateaued, couldn't get past it, and then he changed the principles that he was training by, all of which are really very very easily fit into what we do with like StrongFirst, for example, because the focus is on strength, proper technique, like really honing in on the basics as well. But it's a type of programming that, again, you don't really see so much outside of the barbell world. And even in that, it's primarily just in the Westside method. So that is something I'm looking forward to. And that is going to be released hopefully very soon. We've just got to get final couple things set up on it, and we'll basically be ready to go, because the program has been written out. We just got to shoot some videos for it and what have you. So that is one thing. That is a big thing. That's the biggest thing. The thing I'm most excited about.
I'm excited for you. I can't wait to see this. I
appreciate it. Yeah, it's gonna be pretty legit. I'm very excited about it. I don't know why my camera's acting funny, but I'm still here. I promise you. Oh, there we go. Okay, good. I can see me now. You can't. Hang on a second.
There you are. You're back.
Okay, so for the people who are listening, I'm using my cell phone as my webcam, and right after that little snafu right there, it says, "Are you enjoying?" And I'm not going to give them the free, advertising, but are you enjoying such and such, camp? Right after it's screwed up. So I'm just going to say not now and be very polite to them.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm on lag. At least on my screen, it looks like I'm lagging a little bit.
Your audio is fantastic. There is a little bit of lag.
Yeah. Anyhow. So going back to what we were talking about earlier, that's the biggest thing, the project that has been in the works for the longest, that I'm most excited about. And then I've got another couple of things. I've got a Snatch program coming out that is going to be focused on improving your snatch, but without like killing yourself with loads and loads of snatches.
I would be excited to see it, because you have a very good article on StrongFirst about breathing techniques. It's been very helpful for a lot of people, myself included. The double breath, that's awesome stuff. I'm excited to see that too.
Good. Yeah. I think it's one that I've had in mind to do for a while, because the article, and some of what you read in the article is going to appear in the program, but it's about maybe like 20-25% of it. There's going to be like a bunch of other stuff included in this program. The idea behind it will be very simple, very to the point, and it will be something too that you can fit into whatever your current routine is. So it's not going to be 30-minute workouts. It's going to be between 5 and 10 minutes. Just stuff that's really going to help you become more explosive, improve your timing, and really be able to dominate the snatch without again, without crushing yourself, because the issue with snatches is they just fatigue everything, you know, whereas swings, for just as an example, tend not to. Like you can do them. That's why, you know, Simple and Sinister, for example, you can do swings every day and not really be too much worse for the wear. But if you were to do the same number of snatches every day, you'd be like exhausted.
Oh,
you know?
Yeah.
Right. And I think it's a pretty common mistake that people make, because whenever I've trained a few people for kettlebell certifications. I had one gal that I trained last year who she was recertifying her level 2, but, you know, she works as a house cleaner. And so her, you know, kettlebell things like a passion on the side. So she really couldn't do a whole ton of pressing, a lot of snatching, because it would hurt her shoulders. So like I helped her program things in a way that, oh, here we go again. For the people who are listening on like iTunes or whatever, don't buy Epoch Cam HD. It is a Epoch sham. Anyway,
that's good. You are a good copywriter.
Yeah, thank you very much. So, but yeah, at any rate, you know, one of the things that I've noticed, and she mentioned this too, is that, like, you know, she'd had a trainer very well-meaning, but gave her a snatch program that just like crushed her, injured her, and you know, and again, the guy wasn't trying to do this. It just ended up being like not right for her specifically. And I think
that's a nice way of saying it.
A lot more like a lot of trainees than most people would think. So, at any rate, so I've got that coming out. I'm excited about that. I've got the kind of the outline of it. I just need to, you know, write it out into the program and do the videos and what have you. And I've always got a few other extra things up my sleeve.
Oh, that's so awesome. I look forward to both of those. And I'm not like blowing smoke up anybody's rear. Alex's content's very helpful, and it's definitely worth checking out. And he does it with a nice sense of humor in an approachable way. So we'll definitely look forward to that. And I got some really cool graphics of his face now, his USB thing clocked out. There you are.
I'm back.
He's back.
Yes, I'm looking forward to actually being able to get a webcam again. You know, the previous interview we did, I had one, but I had to borrow it from my parents, which is like kind of sad. I never really had much of a use for it, because when I would do podcasts before, I think yours was the first one that I did, or no, maybe the second one I did where I had to actually have a webcam.
Yeah,
and
that was fun. That's actually my first time, I think, or my second time doing a video as well. And I spent like a day on editing, so I was putting in like graphics and stuff and like making it relevant in case people like watched it on YouTube, which they did. So yeah, it's been a fun format. And you know, the whole reason like this setup is even set up on my end is because a lot of people like yourself could not get webcams. I mean, like they were like $40. So there was some like for $25. I had 2 in my cart on, you know, Amazon. And then this whole thing happens. We're stay at home. Then people need it for work, for Zoom meetings. You know, everybody's using them, which is fantastic. So if you are listening to this or watching this and you cannot get a webcam, the setup I showed you about half an hour ago with the HDMI USB capture card is a good solution. It's about $90. And then you get this kind of quality if you have a mirrorless or DSLR or full image sensor camera with a HDMI or HDMI mini port out. So it's a solution, you know?
Absolutely.
Yeah. In fact, I'm working on with another colleague is getting multiple cameras set up in different locations. So when we do, say, a live class or a live training session, we can, you know, toggle through the camera view angles and they're already set up. So just another something to work on.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, I think it's also easier to keep people's attention like that, you know?
Yeah, I agree. That's one thing I've noticed when I create stuff. If I just look at the camera the whole time, it's only good for X amount of time, right? People like to see the second.
Probably.
Probably 7 seconds. I'll write that down. I like that. I was thinking 4.
So. Yeah, well, I only mentioned 7 seconds because I am told, I don't know if this is true or not, that if you watch a movie, they switch nowadays in Hollywood. They switch scenes at least every 7 seconds, maybe less, but it doesn't go any longer, which I think is crazy because I think it's like it's just. I think the theory is that people don't have the attention span for it. I don't know if that's true, but that's what I've heard. But if you watch like Joe Rogan Experience, if you ever see like on YouTube, like. I watched it, and it's like you might have somebody talking. Like I watched the one with Pavel, for example.
That's great. It was a great episode.
It was incredible. I mean, I stopped everything I was doing so that I could watch that episode. Yeah. It was just so engaging.
I love when
We'll talk like 5 minutes, you
Yeah.
know?
And then he got up and made some tea.
Some
I
tea.
was like, like on his show, he's like, hold on. And he went and made some tea. Oh,
Joe, I'll get back to your question in just a moment. I'm going to make some tea.
I have this Pavel sample I can play later, actually. But yeah, you're right. I think aside from like Quentin Tarantino movies, I don't think people like go to a movie expecting to see a long scene, which is why things like Pulp Fiction and, all of his work is amazing because the scenes are so long and they just follow along. It's very captivating.
Absolutely.
But, well, Aleks, I know you got a lot going on over there. You've given me over an hour of your time, which I always appreciate. It's always a pleasure to chat with you, man. And how can people best find out more about you?
Well, I would say the easiest way would be for sure the channel through which I am most active, which would be my my daily email list. So I send out emails every day on not really a wide variety of topics. It's generally strength, movement, calisthenics, kettlebell training. And I have a 8-week kettlebell and bodyweight program that you get when you sign up for the list.
Nice.
So if you're interested, you can do that. Otherwise, of course, I have, there's also alexsalkin.com. I have a lot of old archived articles and things of that nature that you can check out there. For the most up-to-date stuff, the email list is, again, the thing that I'm most consistent with. But I'm also on Facebook. If you like to see stupid human tricks, I'm on Instagram.
They're entertaining.
And I have a podcast, as we talked about earlier, too.
Oh, yeah. See, this is embarrassing. I didn't know you had a podcast when you hopped on the first time on mine. And I went back and I think I listened to almost every episode of yours. And I'm like, oh my gosh, these are like my mentors and probably your mentors, and like Dave Whitley's on there. Luca, like they're great conversations. I think everybody listening to this should be listening to that too, to your show.
I appreciate that. I always try to get interesting people on. The thing with the podcast too is that for a while I kind of wasn't very consistent with it. The past 5 days or so, I've been putting up a new podcast every day. Wow. So if anybody's interested, and they're pretty short, it's like 10 to 20 minutes, but that's always an option too. So
wow. Well, you got a lot of ways to help people out there. It's cool stuff. And I'll have links to all that in my notes for the show as well. Well, Aleks, thank you very much for your time, and thanks for entertaining graphics on the screen.
Yes, you're very welcome. I'm looking forward to seeing what you do with it on YouTube. Like I can only imagine on your end, there's got to be something pixelated and horrifying looking. Like you have my permission to just use that as my face if you need to.
You got it. I will put it up as it is naturally because it looks good. It's entertaining. I'll let you a little secret. Last week I did 3 podcasts back to back, and a company had sent me a bottle of vodka, which I enjoy vodka, and in my overproductive creative nature, I didn't eat lunch or dinner, and I opened the bottle of vodka.
Why should you when you have vegetables in a bottle, right?
Right. Yeah. It was a sugar cane, grapes, and grain. So 3.
Oh God. So it's like the sugar just helps shuttle the alcohol to your veins faster. Yeah. That's like light speed drunk. Like,
oh, it was. And I was talking with another StrongFirst friend of ours, Ryan Humphreys, who's SFL and SFG. He's just a great guy. And he has an alter ego, which is a whole nother topic, called Rad Max. And then he got into Rad Max character, and we're eating like oysters and sardines, and we're both like, I think blackout drunk, because he went to go to his Traeger to put chicken in there and forgot it for 2 days. And it's all on the show, but I'm not putting that one up yet. That's like blackmail for both of us. But
yeah,
eat lunch before you drink.
That's not a bad idea. I have my podcast is called the Hammercast. We could totally do an episode called the Hammered Cast.
I will jump on the Hammered Cast.
Yeah, we would just get drunk and then start talking about more and more stuff. That might be entertaining.
I found it very entertaining. I didn't know I could eat 3 cans of sardines in a row on a show, but I did.
I had perfect faith that you could do that. I didn't think much about it, but I believed in you.
Well, you also have a background in being able to eat extraordinary amount of food too. So
that is true.
Yeah,
that is very true.
Oh, well, it's always entertaining. We'll have to do this again. And let me know when you wanted to do the Hammered Cast.
Certainly. I'm more of a wine or a whiskey kind of guy. I feel like now that day drinking is not as taboo as it once was, we could
It's so
probably do it at
funny.
this hour. But
Yeah,
here's the thing, like if I drink too close to going to bed, it really screws with my sleep.
yeah. We actually talked about that, about heart rate variability, day drinking, and sleep disruption and stuff. So that's why we drink early. And so, yeah, that's his opinion on it too. Well, wonderful. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for checking out the Engearment.com podcast. As always, I am honored to serve you and bring on great guests like Aleks, the Hebrew Hammer, Salkin. And until next time, take care.